Welcome to the Big Question podcast, brought to you by Brook Street, part of the leading global workforce solutions company, Manpower Group. This podcast will feature a blend of interviews and discussions with leading experts. This will include academics and thought leaders sharing their perspectives on the ever-changing world of work. Hi there, everyone. Welcome once again to Brook Street's podcast, The Big Question. I'm your host, Rhys O'Leary. Today, we'll venture into one of the most impactful areas shaping the business world, diversity and inclusion in recruitment. In today's multinational, multicultural world, diversity is not an option, but a necessity. And inclusion is not a buzzword, but a defining factor for successful initiatives. They're the cornerstone of any organization seeking to be a transformative force in their industries, fostering innovation, creativity, and a vibrant workplace culture that makes every employee feel truly at home. So in this episode, we'll delve into the critical role of D&I in shaping a strong, dynamic, and future-ready workforce, explore the challenges and breakthroughs in weaving D&I into recruitment strategies, and how it fills and enhances every facet of business operations. To shed light on this pressing topic, we're thrilled to have with us Tiarni Goodall-Perry, Area Operations Manager at Brook Street. Tiarni has valuable expertise in recruitment and a proven record of championing diversity and inclusion. Welcome, Tiarni.
Thank you very much.
The listeners are eager to hear a little bit about yourself and the work you've been doing with Brook Street. So can you just give us a little bit about your background and your journey so far?
Yeah, sure. So I've been with Brook Street for 5 years now and worked my way up from a consultant to an area operations manager. And within my role and what it looks like today, I also have an affiliation with our affinity networks as our multicultural network lead. So I've had the privilege of doing that for almost a year now. And I've got to work with a lot of the other affinity networks within our organisation and really work on, what are we doing to bring D&I to the forefront and really bring it to life within the organisation. And I've had the kind of opportunity as well to do it with our associates and our temporary workforce. That's been amazing.
Yeah, really, really good. And as you know, and some of the listeners know as well, I'm part of that affinity network group, focused purely on defence. But, actually we are starting to do more with our associates and look at our workforce in a wider world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share why diversity and inclusion have become such pivotal aspects of recruitment strategies, though?
Yeah, so I think for me, the main thing that I'm seeing is that priorities are changing and the world is changing. There's a lot of spotlights now on, things that aren't right and highlighting how we can make these things right. I feel for me that aside from the cost of living crisis, a lot of people are, they're really interested in what organisations are doing for diversity and inclusion and how an organisation can make them feel included. We're seeing a lot of people coming through our doors that are asking, how will my career goals and my morals align with your organisation or align with the client that you're looking to recruit for? And with everything that's going on in the media at the moment, it really is important for us.
Yeah, and I think it is a really, really important subject, and everyone is looking at culture as one of the big parts. What benefit does a diverse and inclusive workforce offer to a business, and how does it drive creativity and productivity?
So I think for me, and probably one of the most important things is it allows a varied point of view. I think when you've got a lot of people who probably think the same and act the same within an organization, it becomes very easy to slip into habits. I think with this kind of widened diversity and inclusion and people that think differently, it forces organizations to think outside the box and maybe address issues that they didn't realize that they had before. I think aside from that, it also creates a really positive company culture. We're seeing that collaboration, open communication, recognition, this sense of belonging, all of these things are increased. When we start doing awareness days and we're having company calls where we're addressing these things, it suddenly gives people this feeling that it's okay to talk about it. And people will then, they'll bring their full true self to work. And I think as we expand on this and as we do it better as a business, we're seeing more of this come to life.
So, thinking about that, and actually, you were just talking about bringing your whole self to work. What are some of the challenges organizations may face when trying to implement diversity and inclusion in their recruitment?
So I think the main challenge that I've seen over the last couple of months, whilst we've been, really working on this, is that one size does not fit all. I think it's very easy, and especially with the culture that we have right now, for people to want speed. And I think sometimes organisations get caught up in wanting to do this really quickly. Diversity and inclusion and belonging is not something that happens overnight, and it's very important to recognise where we make sure that everybody has that sense of belonging. I think within that, it is difficult, I will say that, because, with that one size not fitting, or, you're trying to cater to as many people as you can. But I think as long as you show a want to understand people and to listen and encourage that open communication, then you will continually move your business forward. I think also one of the other challenges is maybe not knowing what's going on. It's very easy to get caught up in the targets and the figures within your business. I think when you lose that awareness of, these are people that are working for us, and the way to get the best results is to understand our people. As soon as you get hold of that again, I think it again just reignites what we need to be doing around diversity and inclusion.
How can we ensure that D&I efforts are not just at that surface level then, and they actually truly fill the company's culture throughout the whole business?
I think there's a number of ways that we can do it. I guess one of the maybe most easily accessible ways that we could do this is through surveys, open forums. I think it's through, senior management being very present within their teams and having a voice, and through that active listening piece as well. I think when our managers and our teams are taking an interest in who we are and what we believe in, it then becomes a lot easier to talk about, okay, well, how do we now align the company and the company goals to our people? So I think that kind of collaboration piece, and going back to what I said about the open communication, that's how we start this conversation going. And that's how we take it from being something surface level, where a business is saying, we're an inclusive hirer, to, okay, well, what are we doing to do that? And how are we aligning it to our people?
Tiarni, could you share some practical ways you've incorporated D&I into your recruitment strategy that's been a success?
Yeah, so I've taken part in and conducted multiple internal calls within our organisation. We've done this through using external speakers who specialise within the field, and we've gone out to people afterwards with questionnaires. In regard to this, we had a lot of people feedback to us to say that not only did they find the sessions really useful, but they finally felt that they were listened to and they appreciated the awareness. A big successful call for us was the microaggression piece that we did internally, where actually it highlighted that, there were things that need to be addressed. And for some people, they just weren't sure how to address this. So that was a massive educational piece for us that, we find now 18 months on, people are still talking about. We've also ran for our associates our guaranteed interview scheme. So this is where anybody who considers themselves disabled or has worked within defence before, is guaranteed an interview with one of our consultants. We have started to see on the back of this conversion rate. So that's been an interview with the client or a job offer, and people have converted through to our compliance process and started with our clients. The general feedback from this has been, even if they found from that further conversation and an interview that the role wasn't right for them, it was an opportunity for them to regain some confidence. They felt that they could go out, they could apply for other roles. They knew what type of roles that they needed to apply for. They appreciated the assistance we were able to offer in, anything the extra they need to do with their CVs. So again, the conversion rates from doing that have not only been a success, but been quite inspirational to myself and to our consultants as well.
And that must really, really feed through. Actually, that success it just drives that culture that we're really, really looking for as well.
Yeah, it does. And I think for me and for a lot of my team as well, that success allows us to build. It allows us to it gives us some direction on where we need to be going with this. But also on the other side of that, if there's any incentives that we've run where they haven't been as much of a success or we're not seeing the conversion rates that we would like, we know where we maybe need to tweak that incentive or what we need to be doing differently to make sure that we are making it a success. But we let the figures speak for themselves, and we're always driving this forward.
Have you just on another note altogether? Have you like? Can you think of any stories that have really shone out from that guaranteed interview?
Yes, so we had a gentleman, won't mention names, of course, who advised that he had been in the armed forces and ever since returning, he just didn't have the confidence to go out and get an office job. And due to some personal circumstances, this is what was most suited for him. We set up a conversation with one of the consultants, and he went through the process of understanding his CV and his experience. And he said by the end of that call, he felt like someone had really gotten to know him, and that he really appreciated understanding the culture of the public sector and our clients and what they stand for, and that he felt like someone had really taken the time to find him a good fit to a position. With that particular candidate, he did go on to have a further interview with our client, and he did go on to secure a role as well. And he also advised that this really gave him the confidence booster that he needed to apply within the public sector directly and or to apply for other roles as well. So that's one that really sat with me because he was one of the first candidates who came through the scheme with us.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. That really, really is good. And actually it is a really big shift coming from that military environment back into Civvy Street. So just
Hmm.
taking the time to listen to someone and really truly understand them and place them in the right
Yeah.
place is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest success and one of the biggest wins for me and probably learnings has been that if we don't invest time into D&I, we'll never really get it off the ground. So I think through all of these successes, although at times it can feel like a really long process, and when you're, in the beginning parts of these things, it can feel, quite difficult. However, when you do get that feedback through and when you do get people reaching out to you to say, thank you so much for raising awareness or thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me, it makes it all worth it.
How has this approach towards diversity and inclusion really shifted over the years?
I think for me, I'm seeing that businesses are a lot more open to the idea. I see that it's a lot more proactive in the way that we're doing it now. Like I just said, it's taken it from being something that employers will put on an advert as a tagline to say we're an inclusive employer to we're seeing active examples, whether that's via LinkedIn, via our internal channels of how we're an inclusive employer and how we're getting out there in the community and understanding our people. I'm seeing that this is only going to grow. Like I said, it's not a one size fits all. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But what I am seeing is that there's an increased engagement within businesses around what they could be doing more of. So I only see this as getting better from here on out.
A big thank you to our guest, Tiarni, for sharing her expertise. This was a great discussion, and thank you once again to our listeners for tuning into The Big Question. If you found today's episode enlightening, be sure to subscribe to our podcast to hear more compelling conversations. You've been listening to The Big Question podcast, brought to you by Brook Street, part of the leading global workforce solutions company, Manpower Group. To find out more about how we can support your business and give you access to the best talent in the market, visit www.brookstreet.co.uk/employer-services.